In modern America, debt isn't really an emergency anymore. It's not this blinking red warning light telling you something's gone terribly wrong in your life. Instead, it's quietly, almost invisibly really, become just a permanent way of living. From the absolute second we step into adulthood, we're basically swimming in a culture where financing everything is the norm. Education, cars, homes, our phones, heck, sometimes even our groceries. It's not just normal, it's completely expected. So in today's Explainer, we're going to look under the hood of this reality. We'll break down exactly how borrowing shifted from a really careful calculation into just an automated lifestyle.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to consider this chilling reality for a second. For many households, life is not built around how much money they earn, it is built around how much monthly payment they can survive. Read that again, because wow, that is the hidden reality of the modern consumer. Millions of people out there look absolutely financially bulletproof on the outside, but underneath, they are operating under this constant, crushing psychological tension, literally just surviving from one payment cycle to the exact same payment cycle the next month.
So, how do we get here? Because it wasn't always like this. If we look back at the historical caution of previous generations, we see what was basically a saving society. People practiced delayed gratification. You cautiously saved your money, and then, you bought the item. Simple, right? But over time, financial institutions realized something highly profitable. They realized that a population completely dependent on debt generates continuous, unending revenue. And just like that, we transitioned into a borrowing society. Our modern system actively encourages immediate, debt-financed consumption. Why? Because your impatience is literally their most reliable long-term asset.
All right, Section 1. The systemic squeeze, wages versus reality.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core of the problem. When you compare stagnant middle-class wages against the totally exploding cost of basic living, a really stark gap emerges. And we aren't talking about buying luxury yachts or designer clothes here. We're talking about housing, healthcare, education, childcare. While the cost of simply existing in modern society has absolutely skyrocketed, wages for many people have barely budged in real terms. This massive gap forces families to use debt, not to live large, but literally just for basic survival. Debt has basically become the mandatory bridge between what you earn and what modern reality demands.
Moving on to Section 2, the engines of American debt. Let's see how this actually works.
For so many, it starts right here. Tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of Americans begin their adult lives already carrying massive student loan debt. Before you even land your very first full-time job, you're conditioned to accept that owing huge amounts of money is, well, totally normal. And this heavy burden acts like a domino effect. It delays home ownership, pushes back marriage and family planning, and creates this immense baseline of mental stress before your career even really gets off the ground.
And then, we have to get to work. Enter the auto debt trap. American car culture heavily relies on a very specific illusion, the small monthly payment. Buyers are basically conditioned to focus strictly on, okay, but how much is this going to cost me a month, completely blinding themselves to the staggering true long-term cost of these depreciating status symbols. Actually, because we hyper-focus on that monthly hit, we often end up rolling old, unpaid debt into brand-new car loans. It creates this endless cycle of payments for a vehicle that literally loses value the minute you drive it off the lot. No way to build wealth like that, right?
And then there are the circumstances entirely out of our control. Medical debt is a uniquely American problem, completely driven by unexpected emergencies, cripplingly high deductibles, co-payments, and treatments that just aren't covered at all. For so many families across the country, extreme financial pressure doesn't start at some luxury mall. It starts with an unexpected hospital stay. Just a single illness can destroy a lifetime of careful savings, instantly pushing completely responsible people into a sudden debt spiral.
Which brings us to Section 3, the psychological spending trap.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because it's pretty wild. Step 1, you see the rewards, the points, the sweet cash back. Step 2, you get a little dopamine hit, a quick feeling of achievement just for preparing to buy. Step 3, you make a completely frictionless credit purchase. One click, no physical cash leaves your hand, no emotional pain whatsoever. And step 4, bam, you fall right into the minimum payment trap. Credit cards and these buy now, pay later apps, they use behavioral psychology perfectly. They remove the emotional friction of spending money, tricking your brain into treating permanent financial dependency almost like a fun game.
Which leads us to a profound and frankly, somewhat uncomfortable truth. Debt is the invisible engine behind maintaining appearances and the illusion of prosperity. We live in this social media comparison culture that just pours gasoline on lifestyle inflation.
You log online, see these beautifully curated, luxurious lives, and you feel immense pressure to project that exact same false sense of wealth. So what do? We finance it. We buy the clothes, the trips, the cars on credit, looking incredibly wealthy to our neighbors while hiding deep, terrifying financial fragility underneath the whole shebang.
And who wins in this scenario? Well, bank profits are directly fueled by this system. We're talking massive interest payments, late fees, refinancing penalties, and revolving balances. The economic system and lenders earn billions, literally billions of dollars from your exact consumer dependency. This is absolutely why financial marketing is everywhere you look. It heavily promotes borrowing and instant gratification while very strategically minimizing all the long-term risks.
Okay, Section 4, Escaping the Debt Cycle. I know this has painted a heavy picture, but let's shift gears to the solution. Now, what's really interesting about this is how we separate the tools from the traps. Because, listen, not all debt is created equal. On one side, we have productive debt. These are your business investments, strategic mortgages, carefully managed education, borrowing that actually has the potential to create future value. But on the other side, destructive debt. That's your lifestyle inflation, impulsive spending, and borrowing for assets that just depreciate. The absolute key to financial stability is recognizing when you're using debt strategically versus when consumer debt has just become an unthinking, destructive habit.
So how do we actually get out? Well, it requires us to deliberately slow down. Step 1, build financial literacy. You've got to understand compound interest and your actual borrowing costs. Step 2, practice delayed gratification. I know the fast rush of consumer culture is screaming buy now, but genuine wealth requires the patience to just wait. Step 3, build emergency savings. Because without a buffer, guys, every flat tire is suddenly a debt emergency. Step 4, live below your income level. Stop trying to display status and start controlling your spending. And finally, Step 5, recognize your psychological triggers. Are you spending because you actually need something, or because you're stressed, bored, or maybe just comparing yourself to a stranger on the internet?
So the crucial point is your lifestyle actually sustainable? I really want to leave you with that provocative thought today. Think about it. If your paycheck stopped tomorrow, how long would the illusion last? The greatest danger isn't just owing money. No, the greatest danger is when debt becomes so incredibly normalized that we just stop questioning if our way of life is fundamentally broken. Recognizing this trap and truly seeing the system for what it is, well, that's your very first step toward genuine, lasting financial freedom.